Thank you for joining us on Coffee Break, brought to you by the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A. M4A is a part of a network of 13 area agencies on aging that cover all 67 counties across the state. We are located in Alabaster, and we cover Blount, Chilton, Shelby, St. Clair, and Walker counties. We would love to find out how we can help your family today. For previous episodes of Coffee Break, feel free to check out our YouTube channel. All right, we're going to go ahead and kick things off. This is Coffee Break session number 23, Preventing Elder Abuse. If you are new to the Coffee Break series, just wanted to kind of catch you up on a little bit of background on what we do, kind of what this initiative has been. Going back to the beginning of the pandemic early last year, our in-house programs, the PANDA Project, as well as our Alabama Caregiver Support Program, kind of teamed up to start offering a 2 times a month initiative to where we provide family caregivers with a little bit of brief respite as well as something educational. We've kind of kept that initiative going, but we've cut it back to once a month. Again, this is an in-house program brought to you by our Alabama Cares and our PANDA Project. We did want to, obviously we have a main topic that we're covering today, but we've got a coworker, Ms. Robin James, who wanted to share a little bit of information about some of the exciting upcoming initiatives that we're planning. And Robin, I'll pass it on to you, kind of touch on that a little more.
Great. Well, thank you, Jeremy, so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining our coffee break session today. I just want to spend 1 or 2 minutes to share some really exciting news. M4A has just recently created a brand new nonprofit 501c3 organization. And as you can see on the screen, it's entitled For All Foundation, which means we will be helping people live better lives. Our official website will be ready and launched in about 4 to 6 weeks. And so the purpose of the For All Foundation is really to just simply enhance the great work, programs, and services that we already do under Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. And a lot of the AAAs do have their own nonprofit. And so the premise for the For All Foundation, we really have developed 3 centers of excellence. And Jeremy, if you just want to show that slide. And the first one is Training for Aging Center. We do have a standalone website where we currently house our dementia-friendly first responder training. But we also will be growing that website to have all of our CEU webinars and just all kinds of different age-related training, including elder abuse. The second one will be our Center for Critical Needs, which is Help for All. And the purpose of this Center of Excellence is really to meet those unmet needs that, as an example, through our Aging and Disability Resource Center, a consumer, we screen them for every and all programs that they may be eligible for, but perhaps based on their age or income, they don't really qualify. So we've been able to, through COVID, we created a critical needs campaign, and it was really successful. And we've been able to meet a lot of emergency needs for people of all ages, individuals with disabilities and caregivers. And so the purpose of that is to just really help people live better lives, of course. The largest and third center is the Center for Elder Justice and Advocacy. We will have a standalone website. And Jeremy, if you could just change the last slide for me. This will benefit the entire state and really will serve as Alabama's hub, if you will, for elder justice information, education, and services. And so as you can see, it will be housed. We're trying to purchase a closed assisted living facility in the city of Montebello. And that's where the Center for Elder Justice will be housed. And we will be offering, again, will be an Elder Justice Resource Center, victim and elder support services. We're partnering with UAB School of Nursing for that. We will provide statewide professional and community training. We also are putting together the first county elder justice network, which really is a multidisciplinary team. In year 2, we plan on having an adult daycare center in the city of Montebello. And really the most important is we will be also having we will create a temporary emergency shelter. There is none, it's non-existent in Alabama, pretty much across the country. So we're real excited that this really is a very big undertaking and movement, but there's a great need. And I thought, what better platform than to present this to this group today, because we're going over elder abuse and how you can prevent it. So just look forward to more. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, that's at m4a.org. We'll be at least once a month posting updates about our 3 centers of excellence. So thank you so much. And Jeremy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you for that, Robin. We really don't understand and appreciate the level of something like that that's needed, because as you'll find out in the presentations today, that's far more important than ever before. This is really a pandemic or an epidemic of itself in scams and frauds and elder abuse. So the reason we really picked this topic for the month of June, we kind of wanted to close out the month, but June is actually World Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And June the 15th was actually World Elder Abuse Awareness Day specifically. So we really wanted to pick 2 great speakers for this presentation. And there was no one better to pick than the Alabama Securities Commission and the Alabama Chapter of AARP. So I'm going to pass it on to Mr. Dan Lord, who's representing the Alabama Securities Commission today. And he's going to give us a great presentation to kick things off on how you can prevent and report and kind of identify elder abuse in your own communities.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for having me here today. So I was going through life, and all of a sudden it was my birthday a few months ago, and I made a mistake. I thought I was 59 years old, but I'm actually 69 years old. And when I found that out, I said, you know, maybe I better retire this year before they have to before it's too late or something like that, or just to do some things that I wanted to do and haven't had the time to do. But it certainly has been a pleasure working with the Securities Commission, because we're helping people to help themselves. Now, I understand that a lot of the listening audience here will be caregivers, and my information is good for the caregiver, good for the people that you're caring for, and good for your loved ones. And I've tried to pick some videos that are a little bit different than the ones that we previously used. Slide. So today's topics, we're going to talk about the commission a little bit, not too much, fraud and financial exploitation, and how to protect yourself. And I'm kind of excited about how to protect yourself, because I want to tell you some stories about some sweetheart scams. And what I have to say about folks that are 65 and above is, if we lose a loved one, we need somebody to care for us too. We have those needs to socialize, and would certainly be great if we did have love in our life to replace what might be gone. So I was hope you'd keep that in mind. And we're going to talk about a couple laws. You may have heard of them before, but how we protect people in Alabama. There's 2 specific laws that I want to cover. Next.
So my name is Joseph Borg. I'm the director of the Alabama Securities Commission, which is a state agency. You know, we have a great relationship with our industry in this state. We do seminars and compliance programs. They actually call us up when they see something and go, hey, I just got this new client and it looks like she may have been ripped off. Here's the documents. And we will do the investigation. Let's face it, for every $1 million that's stolen by a crook, that's $1 million less a stockbroker or financial planner doesn't have in his portfolio to make it work for his clients. We have all sorts of types of fraudsters and scamsters and con artists. A lot of our scams are ripped right out of the headlines, whether it's Katrina in New Orleans, Michael in Mexico Beach. But there are other things too. Up north in Huntsville, phony micro or technology companies that bring in those who have PhDs and go, well, that's an area I know something about. We have everything from prime bank notes because, hey, we want to be just like the Rockefellers and make a lot of money overseas. So let's pool our money to do that. The con artists make it up as they go. It's always a ripoff. Same book, different cover using today's news. And that's one reason that we are always trying to educate our investors. Scamsters' main target depends on the scam itself. Affinity fraud is one of the big things we have. What is that? Churches. Let's face it, we're the gold buckle of the Bible Belt. And what they do is they go into churches, they worm their way into trust, and then they start stealing Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing schemes. And that's how they do most of it. But it can happen at fraternal clubs, it can happen in a political, it can happen in a country club. If you're of a particular ethnic, whether it's Latino or Asian or whatever, they'll gravitate to that and use that affinity. After all, I'm one of you. How could I possibly do anything bad to you? Because I'm just like you. And that's the pitch. So the scamsters will look for something in the headlines, something that makes sense. Yeah, we've heard that gas is going back up to $4 a gallon. So does it make sense to say, we've got new technology on how to get old oil out? Get in now, you'll make a lot of money. Or, hey, we have a new type of internet and we're gonna be the next Google. It sounds real because people have seen it already. There's something in their head that says, yeah, it's happened to those 20-year-olds who are now billionaires. Why not me? And so what we want the public to do through our investor education program is to look at the red flags, call us in advance. We try and maintain a level of trust. We are the cops on the securities beat for Alabama. We're the ones folks are gonna call. If you get ripped off in a financial scam, it's not the FBI you call the Alabama Securities Commission.
And Dan, I hope that, was everyone able to hear the audio?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Good. That was
So
my
my name
boss.
is Joseph.
Here he is again.
Make sure we get to the next slide. Here we go.
You got it. That was my boss. I've worked for him for over 20 years, and he really believes in helping people in Alabama. Basically, we call ourselves the regulators of the Main Street investors. That would be like if you walked into Merrill Lynch, Edward Jones, or something like that. They all have to be registered to do business. So the first thing any citizen can do, or you caregivers, people listening, anybody listening, is check out your financial professional that's making an investment offer to see if they are properly registered with the Alabama Securities Commission. We work hand in hand with it's not the SEC, that's the football SEC. It's the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. And we work hand in hand, but they're the federal regulator of securities. Next. We're located in Alabama. I think you saw a picture of the building in the video. Also, WSFA, which is a large TV station in Montgomery, is a few floors below us. And we have about 65 employees. Interesting enough, we have around 11 or 12 special agents that can go undercover and they do investigations. And then we have a staff of lawyers that can take the evidence to grand jury and prosecute in court. We're a self-funded state agency, which is always nice, and we return 10 to 13 million in revenue to the Alabama General Fund each year. Okay, now I'm not going to go over what the definition of a security is, but I'm going to touch base on some of it, and I threw this busy slide up here to make a point that what's a security? There's quite a broad area of different products. And, you know, the securities that you might know is that you could buy stock in Walmart or Home Depot, what they call blue chip stocks. But there's other ones. Let's say I lived in Shelby County and I came to the M4A staff and said, I'm a realtor up here and I want to buy 100 acres right off the highway right here. And the reason is they're going to, Six Flags is going to put a Six Flags of Alabama there. So I'd like, if you all would give me $1,000, I'll either give you a 1% interest or perhaps double your money if the park is a success. Now, that person's in the investment business, and if you called us and said, let's check out the registration, if they weren't registered, you're going to want to hold on to your money. So there's a lot of different investment schemes. Some of them take place in local churches and things like that. They may be a smaller amount of money. We had one years ago where if you would invest $100, you were promised $3,000 back in a month or something like that. And we figured it was a pyramid scheme, and you would have had to invest 6 billion people, which was the population of the world then, plus go to another planet and get another billion people to join in order to pay off all the people. They gave $100. So there's a lot of different securities out there. Now the next slide is going to start another video about government, pretending you're a government agency.
Chris Hall was home when she got the call.
As we have received suspicious trails of information in your name,
An automated voice claiming to be from Social Security.
we will have to issue an arrest warrant under your name and get you arrested.
Then, connected to a man with a foreign accent, she was told a drug cartel had stolen her number and she should act fast to protect her money.
And that if I didn't go to the bank and get all my money out, that my account would be frozen and I wouldn't be able to have any money.
It just sounded real.
It did. That's what bothers me, is that they're so good.
The scammer even stayed on the phone as Chris drove to her bank and withdrew $1,500. She then came to this convenience store where she was told to use this machine to take her $1,500 cash and deposit it into a Bitcoin account. Her money was gone forever. It's a new twist to an old scam with a lot of new victims. In 2017, 3,200 victims lost $209,000. But in 2018, 35,000 victims lost $10 million.
The truth is that incredibly smart people fall for this scam every single day.
Often tricked because scammers ghost their phone numbers to look like a real government agency.
Thank you for calling Social Security.
That is the real Social Security.
Right.
If you get called, the FTC says hang up. The real IRS and Social Security don't call demanding money and threatening arrest.
I should have stopped myself, but I was scared to death. I mean, he really made everything sound legitimate.
An expensive lesson as Christmas bills come due. Tom Costello, NBC News, Baltimore.
Okay, so the government's not going to call you and threaten you. And we had other officials once where somebody would call you and say, hey, you missed a grand jury subpoena. You were subpoenaed to be on a grand jury and you missed it, and the sheriff's going to come and get you unless you go wire some money at your local Publix grocery store or something like that. They're never gonna do that. I mean, if you owe the IRS money, they're gonna start by sending you a letter, and you know what? Don't call the number on the letter. It'll have a case number on there. Go to Google and Google irs.org and use that number, or irs.gov, G-O-V, pardon me, and use the number on their website to call them, and then give them the number on the letter as a double check. And just as a reminder, the same thing. Suppose you get something from your credit union that says somebody's compromised your account or something bad's happened, give us a call. Don't call the number on the message that was sent to you by email. That number will be somebody that's bogus, pretending to be from your credit union. What you want to do is get one of your statements or Google the credit union's actual site and call them on that number, but never call them on the number that's given to you in the email and even a letter. Okay, a lot of people say, hey, The only people that are cheated out of money are those that are not too smart. Well, I don't know why for sure, but it's kind of the opposite. It's a paradox. Do you know anyone that's self-reliant, that makes their own decisions, that's optimistic, that's above average in financial knowledge, above average income, and is college educated, who has experienced a recent health or financial setback, or is open to listening to new ideas or great business adventures? For some reason, now these type of people, yes, they have more of a chance to have a decent income. So they would have something that you could steal from them. But for some reason, it's strange that the con artists should have a doctorate of being a con artist, because they're so smart that they can con anybody. Next.
Lunch at Bilbo's Barbecue outside of Atlanta. The ribs are hot, the tea's sweet, the table's full. Local stockbroker Steve Sampler is taking a client to lunch, advising on the menu. This part of the country is fairly conservative, and that reflects Steve's own advice to clients. Build wealth safely, nothing too risky. But Steve does not take his own advice. Steve recently lost $40,000 in an oil and gas scam, purchasing unregistered shares in non-producing oil wells.
If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone.
He's right about that. Steve is a licensed professional stockbroker, smart, with 2 degrees, accounting and marketing management. But he was taken in by a con man with a telephone.
Of course, they did say that they really hated for me to miss this opportunity, and I would probably never get this type of opportunity again.
The con used an old trick, scarcity, telling Steve there were only a few units left to invest in and he had to move quickly. He'd make 10 times his investment. Steve did not bite at first, but the calls continued, week after week.
As I began to talk to him more, and of course he knew basically he was wearing me down.
Steve began to know and like the salesman, a big mistake.
Everyone has a tendency to trust people. Once you get to know them, particularly, you want to trust them. You don't want to think bad of them.
It's not going to happen in the first call. It's going to happen after months and months of doing business with that person, that you're going to be endeared to the personality and share intimate things about your life with them. When somebody starts taking you down that personal lane and asking you about memories and asking you about what makes you tick, they're doing what I'm telling you I did, which was set up my arsenal for the close.
The salesman I dealt with, I knew all about his family, his wife, his children, where he lived.
Steve sent $20,000 in and received official-looking securities and did some due diligence.
I talked to the district manager in Dallas. Oh, yes, there are 15 wells out there. Everything was just right in place.
So he sent in another $20,000, and it was gone. The shell company liquidated, shut down by the authorities.
He's your friend, but then one day, he disappears.
Still, how and why does a professional like Steve fall for this?
The older I've gotten, the more risk I'm willing to take for some reason. But you know, I think what that stems from is I'm not where I thought I should be at this point in life. Oh, I'm trying to hit home runs.
Steve, like so many investors, was trying to play catch-up, an all-too-common tendency among mature investors. He wanted to hit one out of the park.
Home runners strike out more often than the base hitters. And that's what happened to me. And that's what will happen to anyone else that is not very careful, especially today.
I can tell you that's one of my favorite videos. It is so profound in truth, and supports the fact that educated people can very well be cheated. And he said another thing of interest is the older I get, the more willing I am to take a risk. we worked with Dr. Rausch from Baylor University and Dr. Dan Marson from UAB Alzheimer's Clinic. And they came up with the theory that right above your nose, that lobe in your brain right there, is from 70 years on that you're more likely, as that shrinks, you're more likely to be financially vulnerable and more altruistic sometimes, and less likely to look at risk. So without getting too technical, but this does get into issues like cognitive decline, and of course more serious ones like Alzheimer's. And I can tell you, at 69, I see myself changing a little bit, a little more forgetful. And I was up in Huntsville talking to a computer club, and I had talked to them for the past 5 years. And this club happens to be made of people that are a lot smarter than I am, engineers, IT people that worked on computers and computer design programs for the US government, well-educated people. And the age group was from 70 to about 90. And I get done and give them all the information and covered topics about watching out for fraud and watching out for somebody that calls you. And afterwards, a man come up to me that was, I believe, a retired Navy captain, which is way up there, and says, I know I haven't been cheated, because they called about my credit card and they said it had been compromised, but they read off the numbers. They knew the numbers, so I knew it was okay, and I gave them, they wanted to verify information like my birthday and a couple other things. And I looked at the guy and said, your card's been compromised. You need to contact the bank as soon as possible. And sadly enough, the guy started crying. And so these are the type of things as we get older. It sure is nice if we have a sibling that we can trust, or perhaps a retired banker, someone that has no interest in your estate. As you being caregivers, you're probably well aware of the fact that probably 50% of the time a relative or a sibling is cheating the elderly. And one thing that came to my mind the other day while I was thinking about this is my mom. I took care of my mom and dad, and my mom went from independent living to assisted living to the nursing home. And it was very difficult times. But anyway, she had a friend at the assisted living that had, everybody knew that she had some money. And I don't think the lady was wealthy, but when does something become abusive, or when does it, is it just normal? And what I'm saying is, she had teenage granddaughter that would come once a month and say, hey, grandma, let's take you out to lunch. And then can you buy me some clothes? Now, I'm not saying that that's abusive, but where is the point that it becomes abuse? So it may start out normal and it could become abusive later. So that's something to think about. So I wanted to cover 2 laws, just touch on them. Because just simply touch on them without going into the details. But there's a Protecting Alabama's Elder Act. And the main point is there's different degrees, first, second, and third degree on there. But the point that I wanted, if you're looking at the bottom, is somebody steals more than $2,500 from somebody that's 65 or over, or 60 or older, that includes me, constitutes financial exploitation of the elderly in the first degree. It's also a Class B felony. Now, what was the purpose of this law is to put more teeth into getting the bad guy and the bad girl. And I remember one of the district attorneys saying that prosecuted one of the first cases. He says a son was taking care of his mother, and he bought a $80,000 tractor out of her money. So they were anxious to be the first one to prosecute that case. Next slide. Now here's another act that I find very interesting, because you may have had some of you have a financial planner that you do business with, or a broker or an investment advisor, these type of folks that you let help you with your money. And this law was directed at them. If they see some red flags of a client, I'm going to give you an example of a client that's beginning to slip a little bit or make some decisions that could be a result of cognitive decline or something, that they're obligated to report it. And the report comes back to us, of course. And also the financial professional may freeze an account with immunity. In other words, hey, you froze my account. I can't do anything about it for X amount of days, while ASC or DHR look into it. We work together with DHR on investing cases. They'll come across a case where somebody's stealing investments or something like this, and they'll ask us to have our agents work with them and investigate. So the story I wanted to tell you was, it's an example, but John Doe lost his wife last year. So he goes into his financial investment advisor that he's done business for 20 years, and he's just all smiles. And the investment advisor says, hey, what's you so happy about, John? And John says, you know, after I lost my wife, I never thought I'd fall in love again, but I've been out on the internet and met this girl that's 20 years younger than me that lives in Belize. And I just know we're in love. And I need to take out $30,000, cash out my mutual funds, because I need to send her some money. She's got to have a back operation. And after that, we're going to have a honeymoon. So, you know, you see what you're getting into. The person that dealt with John Doe for 20 years realizes that he's not thinking right, or maybe not thinking right. And so they could look into that through the Securities Commission or DHR. So let's talk about a little more about people in search of love. Now, I made that point that everybody needs love. And just because you're older doesn't mean that you don't need love anymore. But often people lose a spouse and they become depressed and lonely. So there's two types of cheats that we see. And one's the false lover who fake their identity. So you're talking to a picture for 2 or 3 months on the internet. Could be a lady talking to a man, or a man talking to a girl. You think you're seeing them through their pictures, but you really never met them. And it's really not the pictures that they're sending, but you start sending them money. So we had a case in Pelham. I was speaking with assistant district attorney at a church group, and one of the ladies broke down crying and told us her story, how she had been married since she was 18, and her husband was an Army officer and died suddenly. I think she was about 48 years old, and he had died suddenly, and she had never handled their finances, and she was all alone. And somebody in Nigeria even showed her pictures of their daughter and got on there with the daughter, who claimed to be the daughter, and the daughter started calling her mama. And they talked for months, and she started sending them money. Before the family went to the authorities and got a stop, she had sent them $300,000, which was most of her estate. So the false lovers who fake their identity on the internet are one group. And then I had to throw in this other, the gold diggers. And I had to do it because my wife works in the retail business, sells furniture. And I had to talk about this because she told me 2 stories. And if I'm going to tell you, it's not a stereotype. The first story I'm going to tell you is about a man that cheated a lady. So my wife comes home and says, this man's dating this coworker of mine. And guess what, Dan? He gets up Saturday morning and fixes her a gourmet breakfast. And then when she goes to work, he cleans house. He is just a wonderful man. And my wife was kind of looking at me like I ought to be cooking that breakfast, you know, and I said, well, I think it sounds too good to be true. Give it a few months later, they were married. And after 6 months, the guy says, I want a divorce and I'm going to sue for partition of your property. I want half the house and half your property. Yes, that's a true story, people. And the other one that just recently happened was a lady married, this man was a widow, and he met a lady online in Alabama, online, and talked to her for almost a year. And he ends up marrying this lady, and everything was just as rosy as could be, almost too good to be true. After 6 months, they got a divorce, and she had drained his checking and savings accounts and everything else that she could get her hands on. So, you know, it's really scary. And who can you trust when it comes to love? I would certainly want to look into somebody's background. Slide. One of our newest news releases that we have on the web, on our website, is Maintain Clean Cyber Hygiene. 5 years ago, we didn't have problems with people my age and above getting into trouble on the internet. But now, you seniors out there, you become more savvy. You know how to use the internet. And like my boss would say, there's good neighborhoods and there's bad neighborhoods on the internet. And now that you have learned more about it, it might be just enough to get yourself into trouble. Well, I'll show you an example of passwords, but you need to update your passwords, and it's easier said than done, I realize that. But one password is if you have a WOW or AT&T or Spectrum television, and they furnish a Wi-Fi router for you, that you can call them and update your password on that router, because some people go through small business companies. Like I have a underground irrigation and it's hooked to the Wi-Fi. They'll break into that company and go down through my Wi-Fi into the router and then spy on get into my phones and everything else. Use two-factor authentication when logging into financial accounts. Most of the banks have these. You put in your identification, you know, it's usually your name or something, and then you put in your password, and then the company or Google will say, we're going to send a number to your phone, and that's the second level of authentication. So you get that number on your phone, type it in, and you can get in. So there's two levels. Anytime you use free networks, that can be dangerous. Hackers can set up a decoy network. You could be in a coffee shop, and there could be somebody in the same coffee shop that bought a tool off of Amazon.com that they can set up their own network. It might say Coffee Shop 1 or something like that. And a lot of people, as we get into that, then they get into your computer. Now, what really hurts, they get into your computer enough to get into your bank accounts or your investment accounts. From our perspective, that could be a big problem. They could steal a lot of money from your life savings and investments. Update software. I don't know if any of you, like me, my computer at home, because I use my phone a lot, I may leave it shut off for a month or two, but most of the computers have automatic update programs to use. So what you want to do if you do that is turn on your computer and leave it on for a couple of days. And most of the programs should be set automatically to update themselves. And those updates include security updates that protect you. Now, here's what I said. If you receive an email from unknown sender, even if the details appear accurate, do not respond and do not click on any links or attachments found in that email, because sometimes you do that, not only are you the danger of going to the crooks message system, but you do that, that link may unload what they call malware, which is different advertisements or stuff onto your computer, or software that could take over your computer and try to, it's called ransomware, try to charge you a ransom. Slow down and think before you click. Many phishing emails attempt to create a sense of urgency, like your bank account's been compromised, causing the recipient to fear their account or information is in jeopardy. Be cautious of generic greetings such as "Hello, investors." They're often computer generated. And don't give out personal information. So I ran into this lady that said, now I know this wasn't a scam. See, the Social Security called me, and I knew that it was them because they said, "Is this your Social Security number?" And they read the number, and I said, "Well, yes, it is. And since you got it, I think you're probably the Social Security Administration." And she just given the crook her Social Security number. Next.
I'm not real sure what happened there, Dan.
You're right here. You're right here. You're okay. Everything's fine. Okay. You know, I was talking about that you go into a coffee shop and somebody sets up a fake Wi-Fi to the far right of your screen is something you could buy on Amazon to set up your own Wi-Fi. And the middle one is like a credit card machine that they can get close to you and steal credit card numbers. I mean, some of these things you just get close to a person, and the other one they can hack into your computer or device. So I don't even understand how these machines work, but what's the whole point? The whole point is that young folks and old folks alike, or crooks, can get on Amazon and buy hacking tools. And we had a certified hacker on our staff that pointed out these tools and what they could do. Next. So here's something, if you're looking at this one, it's recorded. The whole thing here is a breakdown of characters and how easy they are to crack into for a hacker, you know. Now here, they just said 7 characters like alpha lowercase characters, but you can add a lot more by some characters are uppercase and some are lowercase, and other characters are like an ampersand sign or at sign or something like that. Then if you get into the mathematics of it, you have a lot more protection. But you can see, like, you get up to 11 characters, it may take them a lot longer than if you have a 7-character password. Next. So here's what I want to do to make it easy for you is I would like you to call that 1-800 number if you have any questions after watching this, or you want information for a loved one, or you want information about a certain financial scam. Call the 1-800 number and ask for the education office or Dan Lord, and they'll forward it to me. And we love to help people. We'll send you materials. We can email them to you. We'll send you hard copies of materials. I have sometimes I have grandmothers write me and say, "Hey, my granddaughter's going to college and I'd like her to learn about money. I talked to her. Can you send her a package?" And we'll send them a fantastic package. And if you have a question about finance financial crime, investing. If we can't answer it, we'll find somebody that can answer it. Some of these calls I get from people aren't under our jurisdiction. We go the extra mile. I was sitting on a WSFA and AARP telethon, and a gentleman called me, and from my talks with him, I thought he was being financially abused by a contractor. And that doesn't fall under our jurisdiction, but what I did was I reported it to DHR. And we have other people call or and say, hey, what should I do about this? And we'll say, well, that one would go to the FBI, or you should call your local police on this one. So we're here to help you if you ask firsthand. And like I say, also, if you want to write it down, I don't know if it was on the first slide or not, but you can email me any questions that you may have. And my email address is Dan, D-A-N, .lord, L-O-R-D, like a religious name, at ASC, Alpha Sierra Charlie, Alabama spelled out, .gov. So email or call, and I will be glad to help you. Thank you for being here today. And our fantastic, we appreciate our fantastic M4A partners. And also we appreciate our fabulous AARP partners. And now it's their turn.
And I didn't know if you wanted to go over this last slide or not.
No, we don't have time, but they can ask about it. I think it's about time for the AARP folks.
Okay. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions, I just dropped the Dan's email address in the chat feature. So for those that are joining us directly, there's a chat feature as well as a Q&A. So if you have any questions, either during this live feed or after, feel free to, like Dan said, send them information, give them a call. You can comment. We should be posting this on our YouTube channel as well as on our Facebook pages pretty soon. So if you have any comments or any questions, feel free to drop them on there, shoot us a message, and we can make sure to get you in contact with ASC as well. So I'm now going to pass it on over to Ms. Cheryl Henderson, who's with Alabama AARP. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Cheryl, and feel free to take it from there.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, a lot of the information that you're going to be hearing from AARP is some of the information has already been given, but that's understandable because we both are working for fraud. I am AARP state volunteer with the state of Alabama, and I do fraud prevention is one of the things that I do. And we get several calls because I'm also part of the National Call Center. So we get several calls from members and from anyone who has had a problem with someone trying to fraud them out of money. Oftentimes, banks and other places will require that a police report is made. So if you suspect that you have been frauded out of money, then what you can do is make sure you contact the bank or the police department so that you can write all the information down. And when people are contacting you, you need to make note of their email. You need to make note of any type of avenue that they chose you from. It could be your instant messages. It could be your email. It could be a phone call. It could be any way that they contact you, because sometimes these frauds are not done on the internet. Sometimes they're done with a telephone. So you have to be very careful about what you're doing, but keep copious notes. And there are tremendous amount of frauds that are out there. Besides the one that he's mentioned, a lot of people call the hotline because they think they've won a foreign lottery. And you cannot win a lottery that you did not enter. And you cannot win a foreign lottery because there's no such thing as a foreign lottery. So you have to be careful. Usually they keep you in a heightened state. And when they keep you in a heightened state, what they're trying to do is make sure you don't have time to think about what it is you're asking, what they're asking you, and that you follow along with them, because they will keep you emotionally heightened, thinking that you are going to fall for their scam, and that's how they're able to do it. So you have to be very careful, especially if you see yourself, if you're asking, people are asking you to send them anything in the form of a payment, that they're going to ask you to go out and get a card, and they'll wait for you to tell them the front and the back of the card, and that's usually a fraud. So you have to be very careful about the things that you are doing. Click. So what we're going to talk about are some trends and scams, the con artist playbook, prevention resources. Click. Remember, AARP is one of your persons to go to if you are being scammed or feel like you're being scammed. Click. The top scams in the US are identity theft. They will call you and say, well, this is your bank calling, and we need to verify your account number, or we need to verify your passwords. Your banks will never do that. They already have your account number, they already have your password, they already have all the information that they need. So if anybody's calling you to identify yourself in a system that you already know you're giving the information to, that's fraud. Hang up. Then there are imposter scams. People will contact you with a lookalike email, a lookalike company name. And if the spelling may be a little off, or they may add something to it that it's not, it looks like a government site, but it's not really the government site, but there's enough information there that looks like a government site, or it looks like an official's tax site, but it really isn't. So you have to be very careful. And then there's online shopping scams, and those are plentiful, from materials to animals. Click. Identity theft and fraud is $1 billion business, and we have to be very armed with what we're doing and how we give people information. Click. Imposter scams. Like I said, it looks like someone else, but it's actually not the real thing. Especially when they're contacting you from a business or some entity, and it says .net. Most legitimate companies end with .com, but even they can give you odd name in front of the .com, which should indicate to you that it's a scam. Click. He's talked about investment scams. We talked about lottery scams. The things about the lottery scams is that they will talk to you, have you talk to an attorney, tell you how you're going to be blessed, tell you don't talk to tell your family and friends, all kinds of things to make you feel like, wow, I've really hit the pot of gold. And then tech support scams. We see those all the time on our iPads or our laptops or our computers, where they say that there's a problem. You need to click here for us to fix it. Click. Now, like I said, the lottery scams, they tell you, well, you won this money, well, we need you to pay the fees. And the fees can be exorbitant, because they'll tell you you're winning millions and millions of dollars. And for winning these millions of dollars, you must pay the taxes and the processing fees up front. So you go in and you do that, and you end up wiping out your money, because you're thinking that it's one fee after the other. Every time you pay something, they give you another fee. You pay something, give you another fee, but the money never comes. Click. And when you win the lottery, you don't have to pay anything. They'll usually take whatever you need to pay will come out of your winnings. Tech support scams. Again, someone may call you and say there's a problem, or you'll get a pop-up in your computer on your phone to address. And sometimes you cannot get out of that unless you turn your computer off and leave it off for a minute or so and turn it back on, because they won't let you go further. But if you click on it to save yourself from being hit by a virus, they'll often embed a virus into your computer. So if something comes up, you need to notify your own tech support that you pay for. Whatever company you use who does your business for your internet, you need to call them and not depend on something that just clicked up in your screen. Click. Con artists have a definite playbook. Click, and in their playbook, it's all the same. It's the same con, they just change it to fit whatever the latest trend is on television, or latest trend is in the news or whatever. But it's always the same as how they get you to take your money. Click. For instance, they'll say, this is a one-time opportunity, and you need to do it now and do it quickly, because this opportunity is not going to last. It's the best opportunity in the world. It's going to give you a huge investment. So listen to this.
If you don't want to make up your mind right now, that's where I come in. I will make up your mind for you.
Anyway, I said I would not call unless it was a rare and definitely undervalued situation. Are you familiar with the $2.50 Gold Indian Series?
This is enough money for you to go to your grave knowing that you went and did the right thing, and you can go and meet God with a clear conscience. Now, what do you want to do?
Are you stupid? I'm not trying to insult you, but are you mentally ill? Is there something wrong with you that I don't know about? Is there something physically wrong with you? Like, are you retarded? Are you overaged? Do you forget things? Is there something wrong with you? You don't want to speak to phone up. Who the f*** are you talking to on the phone? Hang the phone up on those guys and pick the phone up while I'm calling you. And stop the f***ing with me. Want me to come over here and set your home on fire?
You'll never, ever be anything. You're going to your grave a loser. A big loser. I think you're terrible.
You see how it went from okay to a little bit more pressure until they are literally calling you names and telling you what you need to do, what you haven't done, what kind of person you are. And some people are so rattled by this and so afraid, because before they do all this, they started collecting information about you and your family. And then they threaten to tell your family things. And then you're so afraid that you're going to lose your independence if your family finds out what's happening with you. You'll oftentimes buckle under the pressure. But be very careful and be very wary, because these people are ruthless, as you can see. And those were actual phone calls that people got from scammers. Click. This guy, he's a con, and he gives all kinds of information about how he's able to run the con. Click.
These are dangerous people you are on the phone with. Okay? Make no bones about it. I am a dangerous person on the telephone. If I choose to be fraudulent in my practices, there is nothing that's going to stop me from taking lots of money from people, period, the end. And there are many other people just as dangerous as me. These are dangerous people.
Now, when he's talking about dangerous people, he's talking about keeping you under the ether, keeping you so sedated with what they talk about and how they present it to you and what's going to happen to you and how it's going to happen and what you're going to get and how you're going to get it. And they're going to provide attorneys for you and everything. They're going to keep you under the ether, so you don't have time to think. All you have time is to succumb to what they are telling you to do, because they make it sound so great, because they keep you what we call under the ether. They keep you from thinking for yourself. They give you the information, they dig the hole, give you the, bury it, put the flowers on top, because they've gotten everything they need. And once they get your money, that's it, coffin sealed. Click.
The crush or the kill is emotionally driven. It's not logic. If you apply logic to this concept, it's no. I'm not going to send you my hard-earned money. I don't even know who you are. I know you from Adam. When I wrap that in tons of emotion, that blurs The logic goes out the window, the emotion kicks in. Now I've endeared you to me. Now I'm no longer the predator on the phone. I'm Jim from New York. The crush.
So, like I said, they get you and then you become endeared with them. And you think you've met a friend, you think you've met someone who can help you reach a different height in your finances. You think you have someone who can help you over the next road. So the phantom tactics, you're looking at riches, profiling, scarcity, source credibility, and fear and intimidation. Those are all persuasion tactics that people use to bilk you out of your money, to fraud you. Click. Phantom riches, the grand prize. You'll see people who will send things to your email or to your house that looks like Publishers Clearinghouse, but it's not Publishers Clearinghouse, it's something different. And they've already stated you've won A, B, and C, and you can't win anything because you haven't even applied for it. And then they'll, like the lottery being up to this many. We have a lottery club, we have all these people, and we band together to put these numbers in, and you have all these chances to win because you're part of the lottery club. And it's just a way for them to say, well, we didn't make it, and take your money and run. Those are phantom riches, because people are gullible and people are in need. They're in need because they don't have jobs, or they're in need because they're greedy. It's just a difficult way to understand why people will prance on other people, but they prance on their ability to want to become rich. Click. Profiling happens all the time. They get you on the phone. They're trying to get you under the ether. They've had little conversations with you. In the first few minutes of talking, usually they can identify how far they can go with you. They can identify whether they can take you to the mountaintop where you jump off and give them money, or whether they can't talk to you at all. So they start asking you about questions because they've already gathered enough information just by making you comfortable to talk to them. And then as they talk to you, then they start to increase the questions, and then you've given them enough information about yourself that they can move further in the conversation. You've given them enough information about yourself that they can feel free to view you as a friend, free that you view them as a friend, as a confidant. And that's what we call profiling. So then they start asking you questions that are not questions that you normally get on the telephone, but they've made this personal contact. You feel like you're talking to a friend, you're comfortable, and then you start answering these questions because you've already made contact with a very nice person who's going to help you do something. Click. Scarcity. That's another tactic, especially with gold coins or minted anything. We have so many of these left. If you don't do it now, I know it's going to go fast. I already got people waiting to purchase. You really need to get into this deal. This deal is too good to be true. It's going to cost you in the end, and you will get nothing in return. Or they'll say, this offer is only good for so many hours. If you don't do it now, you'll never be able to do it. And this is the best time to do it, because if you act now, then you will be a wealthy person 24 hours from today. So they make it where you only can do it now. You have to make the decision quickly. And if you do it now, you're going to be able to be financially well able for the rest of your life. And that's scarcity. Click. Source credibility. You see the two faces? They are trained because they choose people who have a great voice. They choose people who can give them the script. They choose people who can ingratiate themselves with seniors. They choose people who can listen and cue on what you say in order to feed back to you what you've already desired, to let you know that's going to happen. Because remember, when you are on the phone with them, you give them the information to help them with the con. So the longer you talk, the more information you let loose, the more information you let loose, the more they can attach a way of coming to you and appeal to your sensibilities, appeal to your sense of self, your self-esteem. They can appeal to your sense of how you want your children, what you want your children to have after you leave this earth. They know how you are in terms of your wealth, in terms of your health. So they appeal to you in all ways so that they can get the information they need. So hoping that you're going to provide Social Security number, you're going to provide mother's maiden name, you're going to provide business numbers, you're going to let them into your world because they have done a great job of deceiving you and letting you know that they are there to help you. And sometimes they even go as far as to say they love you. And because they love you from talking to you, you're such a great person. And you know, you remind me of my grandmother. You remind me of my grandfather. You remind me of the best aunt I've had in the world. And you know, I would do the same for her, what I'm trying to do for you. And I appreciate you being honest with me. And this is what we can do together. Click. Once they have you and they've talked to you, and you may give them money at first, depending on how you feel. I mean, you may send them $100 because it's not much to you, or you may send them $200. And then once you've sent money once or twice, and they want to get even more money, what they do is they keep up in the ante. They keep calling. They start to put fear on you because they've collected a lot of information from you. They've collected your telephone number. They've collected your address. They've collected probably your children's names. They've collected who your best friend might be. They may even know what high school you went to. And then they have looked in yearbooks to pick out names or instances so they can tell you, well, yeah, I went to school with you. Remember such and such, because they have access to yearbooks, thousands of yearbooks. Or they have access to your social media page. So when they go on Facebook or whatever social media you have, they can look and see what you've been doing in the past. So then they begin to attach who they have seen you with on social media, who they have seen you with in your class yearbook, the people you've talked about because they've had a chance to develop a rapport with you. And they use this information to push out money. Once you start telling them that you are not going to give them any more money, then that's when the intimidation comes in. That's when they, now you never see them, but they call you and they will intimidate you, and they keep calling, and they say, well, I'm going to let your son know that you did this, or I'm going to let your daughter know that you did this. And because you don't want to lose your independence, and you don't want your children to think that you are not thinking clearly because they put you in such an emotional state, you're afraid to share with your family and share with your friends what's going on, and therefore you don't. And all you have to do is hang up and not receive the calls. When they call and they tell you you have to call, you better call, I'm going to burn up your house, or whatever they're going to do. If you have that telephone number and you can remember the telephone they were calling you from or whatever, and if you can write that telephone number down and report it to police, and sometimes I tell people they should really just change their telephone number. Get them a new telephone number, give it to their close friends and family members only, so that they won't be, they don't feel that they have to call, because you don't have to answer those calls when they come in. But sometimes you do need to get a new telephone number. Click. So what we suggest that you do is practice telling people no. Practice getting off the phone and getting off quickly. Practice hanging up. because these are strangers. You don't have to be nice to them. You don't have to be courteous to them. As older people, we have a tendency to be nice to people. We have a tendency to let them be heard. And that's what they depend on. They depend on our being kind. They depend on our being able to listen, and they depend on us not hanging up. But you don't know these people, and if you hear something, it's okay to hang up. It's not a problem because these people are not there to do you any good. So hanging up is not being rude. Hanging up is protecting yourself. So we ask that you practice saying no, that you listen to what's being asked of you and you practice saying no, or you hang up the phone. You don't have to continue to communicate. Click.
Now, John, back in 1860 from the Philadelphia Mint, there were 22,675 of these coins minted. Of those 22,000, only 4 have survived. Only 4, for God's sakes. Just 4 remain at this grade.
Again, you see what's being said? Scarcity. You know, if you don't get it now, you're going to miss out on a great deal. If you don't do it now, now's the time. Put that money down. You're guaranteed to have more than double what you put down. And it could be even more, but you're guaranteed this amount. And you don't know these people. You haven't met these people. There's no reason for you to trust them. No reason for you to wire money. No reason for you to buy cards. So the money cards, there's no reason for any of that. Hang up because this is all fake. Click.
Now, John, back in 1860 from the Philadelphia Mint, there were 22,675 of these coins minted. Of those 22,000...
Again, there are other things too. You look at the people who are telling you this is too good to be true and you should get it on this thing. You would think they wouldn't be calling a stranger to tell us. Why would they call a stranger? Looks like they would get this for their family and friends and not a stranger. Why would a stranger come and say, oh, I have this great deal for you, when he can have that same great deal for his parents, his siblings, his nieces and nephews, or anyone else? Just be very careful. Now, you have a lot of things that are on television and on television that they pay for ad space. They don't pay for the people on television to see if they're legitimate or not. Click. Go ahead.
Following is a paid advertisement for John Beck's newly updated free and clear real estate system. The average home in America now costs more than $219,000. But you're about to learn how you can start buying homes like these for just a few $100s and own them free and clear with no additional monthly payments.
Hi, I'm Michelle Boudreau. The homes you just saw and the many examples you'll see throughout this program were all purchased for literally pennies on the dollar, using the amazing secrets found in John Beck's free and clear real estate system. The secrets behind John's system are strategies that most people don't even know exist. Unique strategies that take full advantage of today's real estate market to purchase homes all across the country for as little as a few $100s. And John's strategies don't just apply to homes, they apply to all kinds of real estate. For instance, you could buy home sites ready to build on in lakefront communities for as little as $10. And listen to this. The purchased for amount shown for each property you'll see today, like this home that was purchased for only $521.56, is the amount paid to own each property free and clear with no monthly payments.
Coming up, you'll get to meet John Beck, the creator of the amazing free and clear real estate system, and learn how you can start using his system right now to purchase properties all across the country for just pennies on the dollar.
Great. If that's the case, then all of us will be real estate moguls. So just be careful. And infomercials bring a lot of attention to people who are trying to figure out a way to get money for their families, to do all kinds of things. The infomercials are paid advertisement. They're not endorsed by the network that you see the infomercial on. So be very careful of things that you can have. You pay such a little, but you get a lot in return, because a lot of times these things are just not worth the purchase price that you are going to do for the system that's there. Click.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that I have never seen anything that we have ever offered here on the Smart Shopping Network that is getting the response we are getting tonight for the Miracle Shim. Look at that. Isn't that attractive? And if you have a chair or a table at home that's a little tipsy, and I bet a lot of you do, there is no better product you can find than the Miracle Shim. Now, look at this chair here. A little tipsy, isn't it? You probably have one like it. But you just slip one of these little beauties right under that chair or table leg that's not quite touching the floor as well as the others, and voila, problem is solved. Now, isn't that something you need just about every day? Yeah, I know I do. These are the same shims used in the White House, Buckingham Palace. The Taj Mahal has lots of them. You know, Princess Diana, it is said, would not sit at a table until it had been specially leveled with Miracle Shims. She had a guy with her, went with her all the time. He had a bag full of shims. True story, true story. Now that is class. Now I'm going to be honest with you. You cannot find Miracle Shim in the stores. You just can't. They're not available in stores. They're not available from anywhere but right here, right now, from me. And they're not going to be here long either, believe me. If you were lucky enough, though, to find them, you would expect to pay over $200 for a set like the one we are offering here tonight. But that's not what you will pay if you order right now. No, we are offering the Miracle Shim for just $49.90. Did you hear what I said? Or 5 easy payments of just $9.98. Now that is more than half off the list price. And again, it is just $9.98 regardless of whether you want the cedar, the pine, the oak, or the hickory. Now that is just unreal. I have these at my house. I also gave a lot of them as Christmas gifts this year too. My mom loves hers. You know what? She got the cedar set, and she doesn't have any more tipsy chairs or tables. She also doesn't have any more moths. Okay, I'm told the hickory now is really selling like hotcakes. So let's take a look at the counter, and whoa, my goodness, over 12,000 sold just since I've been on the air. These sets sold out completely last time we had them on the air, so I'm not surprised by that. We have got Bernie from Normal, Illinois on the line. How are you, my friend?
Hi. I just called to say that I love my Miracle Shims.
Do you now?
I just bought 3 more of them tonight.
Whew, 3 of them?
Yeah, and my neighbor's trying to get through to you right now to buy some.
Well, you better hurry, because I'm told the cedar just sold out.
I bought one for my wife. Our anniversary's coming up.
Well, your wife has herself one thoughtful husband.
Yeah, well, you know, it sure beats buying a new dining room set.
Well, thank you, Bernie. And, you know, he raises a very good point, folks. New dining room set, several $100s. You want to impress your friends? You want to feel real elegance in your life? For only 5 easy payments of $9.98, as the kids say, that's a no-brainer. But I'm being told now the Miracle Shims are all sold out. They are all gone, except, you know, for this one here, under the chair. Oh, wait a minute, I just thought of another one we've got right under the table here. We'll sacrifice that, but you better call now before it's gone too.
Can you imagine having Sunday dinner and having your friends over, and you've got those shims on all of the table legs and everything? And come on, Princess Diana, she kept someone with her, so whenever she came, can you imagine her going to a place where the chairs are not going to be even, or the tables are not going to be even? And if so, they're going to pull out the Miracle Shim. Even looking at the shims, you see that some of them were split on the ends, but they put that shim on that beautiful golden cloth to have you subliminally think, well, wow, this is the best thing. Look at that beautiful shim. Makes no sense, but those are the types of taxes that people use in order to get people to do the things they want to do. You get a great person with a great voice. You get him saying how wonderful it is. They get some people, pay some people to come online and say how they use them, what a great job it is. You're sitting there and you say, oh, why not try it? No big deal. You pay that money back, you get a bunch of junk, and use no way for you to get your money back. It's just sad. Click. Click. Remember, when people are trying to get your money, they're trying to hit you quickly, hard, and heavy. So don't make a financial decision on a heightened emotional state. If you are thinking about making a financial decision, do your due diligence and start researching the company. Go online, research, find out if it's legitimate. Find out if you can find people who actually made a financial report, or call your bank, ask your bank questions about a certain company that you think you may want to invest in. You have to do your research. Charity Navigator, they will tell you whether charities are legitimate or not, because there are some that are in there and they're not legitimate. Brokers can go to FINRA for check to see if it's correct, but do your research on no matter what financial program you want to invest in or what financial object you want to buy. Make sure that when you have phone calls, you have your phone screened. So normally what I do is I let my calls go to voicemail, and generally it will hang up because it's not a legitimate call. Now, the do not call list only works for persons who are legitimate people and actually have a real business. It will not work for fraudsters. So do not call, you may put yourself on do not call list, but you're still getting these calls through. That's because they're not legitimate. Otherwise, they would not be coming through. Emails and text messages, like I said, you may get an email. Sometimes you get an email from yourself because people will hack into your email address and they will send things out to other people. A popular email hack and a popular text message hack is that I am stuck out of the country and I need you to send me money. And it will be from a friend because you know them. It'll be from people in your contact list. But before you send anyone any money, always call that person first. Just don't decide that you're going to send money because they sent you an email, because usually that's fake. And find and develop yourself a refusal script. Do that because it's so important that you are able to click telephone or say no. Click. These are the things you can do to protect yourself. Make sure that you destroy all personal information before throwing letters away. If anything that you have in your letter pile that's sensitive, shred it. If you don't have a shredder, tear it up in small pieces. Make sure you monitor your checking account for money that may have been taken out that you didn't authorize. So be sure to monitor any financial accounts. You may want to have a fraud alert that you put on your accounts with your bank or your credit union, so that if anytime something is purchased, you get a report. And watch over your credit reports by looking at them annually and using their telephone numbers. Click. Keep your antivirus software up to date. Keep your passwords private. The longer they are, the better they are. Don't share them. Use unique password for each online account. Or sometimes you can get you go online and you get you a password, and they will generate passwords for you that they'll save in your computer. And consider that would be a password manager. Click. Again, in order to protect yourself, this is the number you can call. We also take in spam calls, and we try and let you know what agencies to contact, and we'll give you that information, because it's very critical that when you have found out that you've been frauded, that you use that information to report it to anyone. Financial scams are really high, especially when it comes to romance scams that you talk on, but a lot of it will be someone who says they're a soldier out of town. America takes care of their soldiers. You don't need to send them extra money. They'll say they're out of town, or from the guy who's working on the oil rig, and he will ask for money. Then they are celebrity imposters. Well, it looks like you have a copy of their driver's license. Celebrities is not going to give out their driver's license and their addresses, and you will be sending money to them. There are pet scams where you think you're buying these exotic pets, and what you get is not what you paid for. There are coronavirus scams, so just be careful and get your information from legitimate people. So, click. Anytime you've been scammed, share it with other people, because the more that they are armed with information, the better off they are to stop a scam. So please keep in touch with us or anyone who has knowledge about how to report scammers and what you can do if you do. Thank you so much for joining us.
I did want to kind of touch briefly on M4A, since we're the organization that's hosting this. And again, I don't see any questions on the social media feed. I don't see any here in the Zoom. But if you have any questions afterwards, if you're watching this recording on our YouTube channel or on social media, feel free to reach out to either AARP or with the Securities Commission. There's several members at each organization. So feel free to reach out to them, or you can reach out to us and we can make sure that we get the question over to them. Again, Coffee Break is a session that's brought to you by the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A. We're located in Alabaster at 209 Cloverdale Circle, kind of directly across from the Saginaw Post Office on Highway 31. There's our contact information. It's pretty standard for everyone in the building. You know, we have the same phone numbers. Just make sure you ask for whoever you're asking for. They can get you to our office. But if you call looking for a particular reason, we can definitely make sure that we get you to the right person. We have services that range from in-home services like homemaker personal care to prescription drug assistance programs, well, it is prescription drug assistance. We do have some limitations in what we can do with that program. But we also have caregiver support, like with our Panda project, as well as our Alabama Cares programs, who are hosting this Coffee Break series. And we have several programs. Robin mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation some other initiatives that we're working on as well. So we've always got something going on, and it seems like we've got our hand in just about everything. So we're a really good starting point that if you find yourself in a situation where you need to find some assistance for your family, if it's not our agency that covers it, we can certainly try to find the agency that covers your area to be able to kind of help provide those supportive services for you and your family. Again, Coffee Break is once a month. We do it the last Wednesday of every month from 1 to 2 typically. Today's was a little longer because we knew this was such an important topic. Next month, we will be talking about oral health. I think there's an awareness next month. So we've got some physicians coming on. I believe it's someone through UAB School of Dentistry that's going to come on and talk a little bit with us. So that's sure to be an exciting topic as well. And I'm sure we'll all learn something that kind of like today that we didn't know about it and realize that shims were such a hot commodity. But apparently I need to get online and purchase me a couple of those, even though I don't have chairs that wobble. But and Dan, for you as well, I think I need to look into these Wi-Fi sprinkler systems. I didn't realize that was a thing. So man, there's some crazy technology out there, and I'm sure that just makes it a little easier for scammers to target us. So, but if you have any topic suggestions, we try to mix it up every month. We try to typically go along with whatever that month's awareness is, but we're always open to having other topics. So if you have any suggestions for topics in the future, make sure you reach out to panda@m4a.org. We will have this video recorded and edited and live on our YouTube channel probably within the next week, hopefully within the next couple of days. But we will see you next month for Coffee Break. We hope everyone has a great, safe holiday weekend, and we will see you next month. And thanks again for our presenters joining us today.